Hi, everyone. So wonderful to see you and to spend time with you. My name is Katerina Stoikova. I am the founder and senior editor of Accents Publishing. We are an independent press in Lexington, Kentucky. Every other week, more or less, we plan to bring you an author of a book published by Accents Publishing and focus on this author and that book for an hour. So far, we featured Lita Kendrick and her book Ant Luckier, The Junkie Who Loved Horses. That is an anthology of poems written by formerly incarcerated men, and it's edited by Sonia DeVries. Then we featured Open Burning by Christopher McCurry, Masked Man Black by Frank X. Walker. Our latest Accents Book Club was Earth is My Church by Eric Scott Sutherland. Next month, I think it's on the 13th of January, we have Sirens and Rain by Barry George. We get to hear some of his haiku today. And then the third week of, the second book club in January is Karen Schubert and the Compost Reader. Today, though, the books of the hour are our very beautiful issues of literary accents. We have released issues 1, 2, and 3. Issue number 4 is waiting its turn to be typeset, but we have the content ready. I think all of you know that we have the first issue was focused on very short poems of up to 50 words each, including the title. The second issue featured funny poems. That was the second issue. The funny poems. The third one featured family poems. And the fourth issue is dedicated to heartbreak and breakup. So I'm hoping that every one of you, in turn, I'll call your name. And if you do not want to read, send me a private note so I don't call your name. That everybody would say one sentence about yourself, then which issue you have poem or poems in, and then read some of your work. So we will start with Mark Herschmann. I'll ask you to unmute yourself, Mark.
Yes. Thank you, Katerina. It's a pleasure to be with you and everyone else associated with literary accents. I'm, what do I say, dialing in from Wheeling, West Virginia. I'm the current poet laureate of West Virginia. And I'm simply going to read the poem that's in the forthcoming issue of Literary Accents, if that's all right. Another ending, another setup. We borrowed the birthdays from the hospital, vowing to return them, needed as they were in ICU. Then we beaded a rosary with 59 haiku and a single frog. The stones would come later after the apes finished with them and the sea ceased dancing with the moon. We had it all planned, the glass pipes, the harmonicas, the wind trapped in mother's mason jar. But it was another setup. We think no one has ever invented such a thing as this. And then it's over. The pulse slows, the squiggly lines straighten, and the two bright balloons deflate one by one by one. Nothing prayer can save, nor poetry lament. So the birds wander off without heart. The elaborate songs go unsung, and the moon continues to row its way across the ocean without even a party hat. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mark. Now, let's hear from Carol Levin. We're hoping that you turn on your mic, Carol. Yes.
Okay, Here I am. All right. At the moment, I have an ear that has a sponge in it, so I'm only being able to hear out of one ear. There's been a doctor in there mining today in a section. I have retired from a job I had for a long time. I teach integrated Alexander technique, and I retired from that about 2 years ago. But I teach anybody who wants to come, and now I don't charge them. And I've been very, very fortunate to have had 3 full volumes of poetry published and 2 chapbooks. And it seems like a miracle some days. And the poem I'm going to read is from volume 1, issue 3. When I was growing up, salesmen who traveled around and sold things to people, companies usually, were called detail men. They were always men as far as I can tell. And my stepfather was a medical detail man. So he visited doctor's offices. The title of the poem is Medical Detail Dad. Every surface in the house on Orange Street, my entire red-faced adolescence was heaped with arching spring and coil loops of various sized rubber diaphragms, old-fashioned birth control, along with foam rubber facsimiles of vaginas for MDs to educate girls ready to engage in physical pursuits. Also, boxed bundles of emery boards promoting the brand Milex, favors for gynecologists' receptionists, so they would usher him lugging his bulky black cases into the doctor's inner office. The pill put my dad out of work, but he said it was because he hit 40 and no one wanted decrepit salespeople unable to produce. In spite of his angel food with whipped white frosting, he sat slumped on that birthday, bemoaning all loss. It went on like that until later I sneaked away one late afternoon to prove the market did exist as I measured up for one of my own. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Next, Libby Jones.
Hi, everyone. I'm Libby Falk Jones. I'm a poet of the Bayou and the Bluegrass, and I live in Berea, Kentucky. I'll read 2 short poems of the 3 that are in the first issue. of this wonderful literary journal that I enjoy hugely. You can always add, you can't subtract. My mother's maxim, handwritten on the last page of the cookbook she made for her only child, going off into the world at 22, not knowing how to season gumbo or even scramble an egg. But I had to let her go. Mountain invitation. There's nothing much to do here. Just gather wildflowers and blueberries, watch clouds climb, make tea and love, listen to rain on the tin roof, nap in the hammock, read good books and write. You say this sounds like heaven? You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Let's hear next Claudia Syria.
Hi everyone, my name is Claudia Syria and I was born and raised in Romania. I immigrated to the United States much like Katarina in 1995, and I live in New Jersey and used to work in New York City. Now I work from home. I was published in the humor issue from last year in Literary Accents, Volume 1, Issue 2. And in the Bigger Than They Appear anthology of poems. So I want to read those two, they're very short poems. And the first one is called Khrushchev. Khrushchev visited a pig farm and the local reporter photographed the event. At the office, the caption of the photo is the subject of a heated debate. Comrade Khrushchev among the pigs? Comrade Khrushchev and the pigs? Pigs around Comrade Khrushchev? Up against the deadline, the editor-in-chief finally decides. Third from the left, Comrade Khrushchev. You can always replace Khrushchev with a politician of your choice, my friend said. And this one is a very short poem called Love Me. Love me, green me, watermelon me, honey dew me, of honey and of dew make me. Peel me, slice me, eat me, and throw my ring into the sky, marked by your teeth, and spit my seeds over the rooftops, brilliant stars. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Claudia. Stuart Horodna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stuart. I'm the current director of the University of Kentucky's Art Museum. And I have two short poems in the upcoming issue. This would be the first time I'm having poems published, so I'm quite excited, and certainly thank Katarina for the privilege and honor of that. Two short ones. One is called My Mother, which is sort of about my mother's decline and death last summer of dementia, but this poem is My Mother. My mother hit the nail on the peanut butter. It was hard to criticize. In the spirit of a maybe breakup poem, but certainly a relationship tension poem, Irritant. I had a dream last night. You were Queen of America and there was a stone in your shoe. It was me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. And next, Naomi Cluett.
Hi, I misheard Katarina earlier in the evening. I thought I heard her say that we should introduce ourselves with a single word rather than say some words about ourselves. If I had to introduce myself with a single word, it would be twin. This poem appeared in the family issue, actually next to some poems by my twin sister Lori. So it's special for that reason. Also, this is an old poem from when my uncle died. It's a Flight of Fancy. I wrote about my aunt and uncle, and I'm happy to have found a home for it. So thanks, Katerina, for publishing it. Searching for something to hold at night, she descends in a dream to the basement, and finding it stowed not next to the freezer, but on his wheelchair, which she's given away, thinks, he's left it for me, his personal box of personal things from before she was important. Out of the box steps his first wife, followed by a small parade of lovers and a few misdemeanors. She laughs, relieved, having known all this, wonders what she'd feared, notices a box within the box, and instantly she understands that this is like those nesting dolls, and she doesn't have time to open them all because she is late for work. She's a stewardess again and is flying away from the wreck of her youth. She is never coming back. But now, when the plane crashes and she is supposed to die, he's not there to care for her, so she does. It's 1975. The box is nearly full. She decides that if she must die and never meet him, she'd like at least to look in the box, to look at him from this distance. So she goes to the young him and asks for the box. He doesn't recognize her. He thinks she's nuts. She goes to the dead him and explains the situation. He listens intently and invents a solution. She knew he would. When she wakes, she's forgotten what he whispered, but still hears his voice.
Thank you, Naomi. Next, let's hear a poem by Kathleen Gregg.
Hi. I'm sort of new to poetry, if you could call writing for 10 years new, but compared to most everybody else, that's a drop in the bucket. My poem is for Katerina's upcoming issue about heartbreak and breakup. It's called 1:30 a.m. The train rattles the windows and I wait. The bars close at 1. He's settled up the tab, short drive home, and right on cue, my husband staggers in the door, lurches through the dark house, stumbles over the threshold to our bedroom, work clothes tugged off and slung into the corner. He yanks back the covers, thuds onto the bed. A bitter tang of sweat, cigarette smoke, and beer billows up. Hands grope me, rub along my thigh. I shove his arm away. He slurs, "What's your problem?" I scream the answer in my head. But he's already passed out again. And again, it's the train that I'm left with. The sound of leaving settles in my bones. When, the whistle asks me, when?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Next, Kevin Lane Derringer.
Am I there? There I am. Yes. Hi. I am Kevin Lane Derringer, if you can hear me, because I was muted. I have written academic prose for years. I was a teacher. I was an actor. I am now retired. I moved from academic prose to a memoir, and a memoir kicked me into poetry. This is called By the Waters of Babylon. It'll be in the Heartbreak and Breakup issue, and it is about trying to navigate a new relationship when suddenly COVID hits. By the Waters of Babylon. While you were gone, the crocus bloomed and the trees stretched green and high. While you were gone, the earth grew old and waited with a sigh. While you were gone, the summer came and grass grew tall and wild. While you were gone, the road unspooled down valleys cramped with thorn. While you were gone, the terror glowered and gave no time to mourn. While you were gone, I stayed inside to hear the tolling bell. When you return, I won't be here to blot this empty hell. It's my, that's it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Karina.
Now let's hear from Lyndon Rising.
Hello, I'm Linda Neal Rising, originally from Oklahoma, but I've lived in Poseyville, Indiana for many years. And I'm going to be reading a poem that was in Volume 1, Issue 3. But it is also the title poem of my new book that just came out through Finishing Line Press in September. And it is entitled The Keeping. I have heard there are those who hack away at grief, shearing sorrow over a lover's grave. But my grandmother was not one. Widowed after 50 years of marriage to a man who thought women had no need for swimming or driving or schooling. A man who took her to the hospital after the home birth of their 5th child, only when the bleeding could not be quelled, but then carried her back to the truck when the doctor said she could bear no more children. A man who let her lie in bed for a year, too weak to stand, while daughters, no older than 9 or 10, played mother to the younger ones. A man who crowed when the next 3 babies were boys. No, my grandmother never cut her hair, steel-colored braids coiled into a crown. And sometimes on Sundays, after taillights turned toward other homes, she would sit with me, unpin her plates, letting her hair tumble, fresh turned furrows down her back, the silver brush sparking tiny lightning strikes like flint against stone. Untangling the hair my grandfather demanded she never cut. A man once told me that a woman only cuts her hair when she has given up, but he was wrong. Sometimes it is in the keeping. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Now, Marilyn Johnston.
Can you hear me? You can hear me, okay. I'm Marilyn Johnston, 71 years in Connecticut, born and raised, retired librarian, longtime poet. I was very pleased to have my poem accepted for your issue on heartbreak and breakups. Katerina, thank you. So this is a he and she of it kind of poem. It's entitled, When He Stopped Mirroring, like the word mirror. When he stopped mirroring, she stopped being interested in reflection. She bypasses mirrors now, head bowed, eyes blunt, nothing to fire them as the face once seen, nothing to make life double. When he stopped mirroring, she resumed life chronically busy, erratically fragile, startled to find herself with other people, sighting new worlds beyond, though new worlds wearied her, and nothing sparked spectral images again as he could so spark, urgently signal life, like a man drowning in surreal rapture. She became one mind, open but shorn in open-ended scribbling, plumbing dream logs. She had finally learned the difference between body and thought. When he stopped mirroring, she stopped being interested in reflection. When he stopped mirroring, it was good to fall back, ordinary, safe, between book walls and clear glass of the night disclosing mirror. Now, always here, her home, changeless, with its serene secret illusion of capture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marilyn. Karen George.
Hello, I'm Karen George, and my poem, well, first of all, I'm a retired computer programmer. I live in Florence, Kentucky. I've lived in Kentucky all my life, and I write both poetry and fiction. And I was in the very first issue, I believe, the one that was under 50 words, poems under 50 words. And this is a found poem, which I used the poem of Ada Limon's poem called The Whale and the Waltz inside of it. And I just picked out words that I liked and composed a different poem. And this poem is called Out of Chaos. Imagine a blue cave at the edge of the world. By the dizzying bliss of a fire, a woman spins suffering into letters of the original language. An old river, golden mother of tongues, bears down on the land, sings of depth, borders, crossing. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Linda Freudenberger.
Hi, my name is Linda Freudenberger, and I'm only been writing about 3 years of poetry. I just completed the poetry gauntlet, and I made it to 111 poems. And I'm excited to have my first poem published by Katerina in the next issue. But I thought I'd share a different poem. It's my 110th poem I wrote. And my husband was a professional chef, and the Henkel is the brand of knife that he preferred. And he got me one, and this was a poem about it. Okay, just a second. I'm trying to open it up here. Okay. Hold it just a second. Okay, here it is. Sorry, I'm having technical. Come on.
Do you want me to call you in a little bit, Linda? Would that be okay?
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that. Now we'll hear from Chuck Stringer.
Hi, I'm Chuck Stringer, and I live in Northern Kentucky. Good friends with Karen George and Ellen Lawson Lee are also here tonight. So it's such an honor to be in this beautiful issue. And then I also have a poem. This is the first issue. I also have a poem upcoming in the fourth. And I've got two small poems I'll read tonight. I love writing small poems, and just getting precision down to concision. And I just really like doing that. The first one is a 5-line, 20-word figure poem. It was in the first issue. It's called Fragment. And it was inspired by the actual event, which was walking on a beach at the Outer Banks, North Carolina. And again, it's a small poem that tries to contain some very large subjects. Fragment. Gleaming white in the sand, open like a cradle, half of a wave-tossed bivalve, still trying to catch the sea. And then the second one is a poem of heartbreak. It was written out of the grief of my mother's death, and it's called The Circuit. Death coils its wire inside each of us. Grief is a bomb that has to blow. Memory is a cell that holds each minus to plus. Love hits the switch and makes it go. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. Linda, are you okay with?
Yes, I have.
Okay, great.
Okay, it's a persona poem called Henkel Speaks. Never been this dull. I need precision to chiffonade, mince, dice, chop at my usual frenzied pace. Evenly weighted down my shaft with a thick handle to cradle her hand. She rocks me swiftly back and forth, deftly with a rhythm he taught. Vegetable and herbs attacked on the board, then scraped into the Dutch oven, marinated and simmered, aromas blend and permeate. My blade is dull, need to be honed and sharp. He taught her to curl her fingers out of the path of my dance on the board. Failed to teach her to sharpen my steel blade. She flounders the onions, garlics, carrots, thyme, reminiscing as his Sue. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Now, Evan Austin Lee.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ellen Austin Lee, and I'm actually going to have my first poem in literary accents in the next issue, in the Love and Heartbreak issue. I am going to read that poem, and I'm just going to very briefly, oh, you wanted to hear a little bit about myself. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm also relatively new to poetry, about 8 years in. And I did have my first chapbook come out in 2019. The reason I'm mentioning it is it's about, the theme of the chapbook is about recovery from alcoholism and addiction. And in that chapbook, I reference a pretty bad car accident that I was in. And the poem I'm going to read, I think you'll be able to figure out from what I'm reading, but the person that was in the car accident with me contacted me kind of out of the blue after that book came out. And this poem is really about forgiveness. So thank you for listening to that. Anyways, it's called Adonis. Adonis. Maybe I didn't really want to find you, or I would have looked closer to where it culminated 41 years ago this past May in a crash on the way to Green Lakes. Your home. Of course it was, since the water in those rare lakes is the same turquoise as your eyes, like some god had poured the overflow of them into you. I've been wanting to tell you how sorry I've been about that night. I was behind the wheel when I couldn't even navigate a sentence. I remember it was our first evening out as ex-lovers, but I knew I was in trouble the moment I saw you step out of your house and walk towards the Valiant. The sun hung low enough to catch your hair and spin it gold and ignite those eyes in the hottest blue flames. And the great span of your shoulders stretched beneath the white button-down shirt. You burned like Adonis come to call, and there was only one way I could answer. I ordered beer after beer at the bar, and I don't know what happened next, except my head hit the steering wheel so hard I didn't open my eyes for 3 more days. What the sight of you did to me. I opened my email 4 decades later, and there you were. You said I suddenly hummed inside, so you opened the internet, and I spilled out. You read the poems in my book, lines about you. I made the mistake of telling my mother, who at 92 recalled your name as if it was back then, with her accusing me of kissing you. Our joined images in the kitchen reflected on the polished wood door, like it was something dirty she saw. She never liked us together. She sensed our heat, how our hands always touched each other's bodies. One day she called me back into the house when my leg draped over yours while we sat on the front walk. Love, filthy love. Desire and shame stained in a way only buckets of booze could scrub clean, and this left you broken on the side of the road. You said, I don't owe you amends. It's enough that no one died. Now I see us sitting on a tree trunk fallen by the shore, our feet dangling in the cool green as we watch our ripples meet on the surface.
Thank you, Ellen. Martha Dorton.
Hello, I'm Marta Dorton. I'm a Lexington visual artist and writer. And tonight's poem is about a visit to my parents. It's called Ascension. I walk up crumbling concrete steps, drag open the tall door. Dim chill rushes past. Hollow corridors, dark mauve carpet quiets the echo of my heels. Flanked by names and dates, stacked 6 high, I stop, look up, find you out of reach. We kept our secrets, hid our thoughts, a slow circular dance around questions that separated us and those that knitted us snug. I grasped the vase lifter from the marbled corner, set your vase in the U-shaped end. On tiptoes, I stretched the pole up, place a bouquet of purple plastic flowers into the ring beside your name. We often strained to connect, even when we had the perfect device. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Douglas Self.
Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Self. I originally from the Chicago suburbs, the far north Chicago suburbs, but I live here in Lexington, Kentucky. I proudly live here in Lexington, Kentucky. I consider myself an Appalachian poet, actually, because this is where I found poetry. And it's great to be here. It's great to be included in an upcoming issue of Literary Accents, and with the poem that I'm going to read. And hi, Tina. Hi, Dennis. I haven't seen you guys in a while. But I actually almost didn't even include this in my submission, so I'm kind of happy I did now. But this is a poem called Of an Atom. While listening to her husband confess to fucking the nucleus, while listening to her husband during the fall of her marriage, during the fall she sits silently, seeking a single free neutron for position. seeking a single free neutron, showing a smile. Over the earth like a lunar eclipse, showing a smile in the midst of a cosmic battle. And that matters during the fall, during the silence, during the confession of his love for radioactive material. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Catherine Perkins.
All right. I was just trying to think if Douglas Self was related to my daughter's middle school teacher, Rebecca. But that's neither here nor there. I'm in the issue 1 or whichever, the first one and the fourth one. And I'll read from the fourth one, although I really wish I were in the humor issue because I'd rather be funny than thinking about love, loss, or loss. So this poem is called Let Me Show You. He said he loved me. We kissed and kissed. He hissed. Let me show you. Let me show you. A callous hand fondled its way to my fork. I shivered. I ached. My wings spread. We didn't need a bed. Wait, I whispered. Don't stop. But he was done. He said, that was fun. I have to run, and zipped his fly. I started to cry. He had to go home to the wife and newborn he'd left alone. Thank you, Katerina.
Thank you, Kathy. Andrew Merton.
All right, thank you. Katerina, this is our 10th anniversary. I met Katerina online 10 years ago, and she accepted some poems for the Bigger Than They Are anthology. And since then has published 3 books of mine and changed my life, basically. So I thank her for that. This poem is from the humor issue. And it is called The Unreliable Narrator Stacks a Cord of Wood. Your wife said to put down some 2x4s first because the ground was muddy. Perhaps it was not your wife who said this, but an old man wearing a checkered flannel shirt and a feed cap in a bait shop up in Maine. Perhaps the old man said something different. Yeah, the bluefish are running something fierce this summer. It is more likely, though, that the remark was made by a cockatoo on a voodoo queen's shoulder in a cafe in Havana in the early 50s, and that the fierce runners were rogue toreadors stampeding toward the sea. You remember that you are neither married nor male, and that you would not be able to stack wood without changing out of the little black dress and stilettos you put on for your date tonight in Cairo with the late heavyweight champion John L. Sullivan. Before quitting work, you mull over your decision to tell the story in the first person. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Now we'll hear from Linda Angelo.
Hi, I'm Linda Angelo, and I'm really very new to writing poetry, 3 years, I guess. So I'm honored to be in this company and also honored to have a poem accepted into the upcoming volume. Magnolias. Decades ago, there were dizzying months of magnolias, spring kisses exploding beneath the trees into first poems. Now here you are again, hair white but silky still, the same fire between us, the same easy communion. Moons pass patiently over our houses and ask, when will we sleep softly beside each other, share breakfast, listen to the radio with the dog between us? You know, the usual things. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Barry George.
Hi, I'm Barry George. I live in Philadelphia where it's snowing heavily tonight, and I'd like to read 4 short poems. Total eclipse. As the sun reappears, late rooster. Our secret romance. The patient who comes out as I go in. Sleeping cat opens one eye to listen. And for the storm, although this is more of a hurricane and snowstorm that I'm talking about, live from the storm, everything flies by except the newsman. Thank you. And Katerina mentioned it earlier, but I would like to pitch my book, which is just new from Accents Publishing. It's called Sirens and Rain. It's a book of haiku about Philadelphia. And I am going to be giving or having a, what do you call them? Accents Book Club, just like this, exactly a month from tonight. So I'm very happy to be doing that. And if anybody wants to stop by then, it would be great to have you in the audience. So thanks.
Thank you, Barry. And now, Rosemary Royston.
Hello, I'm Rosemary from Blairsville, Georgia, and I have a poem in the upcoming issue. Lesson. His patience was thin as a sheer curtain, his resolve steel. My freedom hinged on learning to drive the family stick shift that humid June afternoon. I could only pop the clutch, and in his rage, he swung at me, his left arm a mallet. This was my father, who kicked the cat and threw a Bible out a moving car. Until then, he never struck me. I countered with the slam of the door when the Toyota finally choked. There he remained, frozen in the passenger seat, the one with the cigarette burns, staring blankly into an empty horizon. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Claudia Putnam.
Hi, I had to find myself so I could unmute. Anyway, I am Claudia Putnam. I live in Western Colorado along the Colorado River, right where it comes out of the mountains and into the desert. And we are dying for snow here, so feel free to blow it back toward us if you're on the East Coast. I have a poem in the upcoming issue, breakups, etc. It's called Elements. Fucking your ex-husband would be like fucking the air, someone said once. No offense. None taken. I was so used to him. I knew he had weight and absence both. This thing you had to take on faith, sustenance, but no real satisfaction. Consider the alternatives. Fuck dirt, fuck water. I guess most of us yearn to fuck fire, even if this isn't sustainable. Fire is the loneliest. I knew a woman with the spiritual consistency of wet tissue paper. Making love to her must be a colorful, disintegrative experience. I noticed the men ceased flapping around her luminous beauty after a time, but I myself could not stop staring. What is ever the damage done? What makes someone ripple and melt, hover and cloak, roar and burn, or lie unyielding no matter how hard you pound? People in my town make whole livings as compatibility experts. Fire can sometimes work out with air, never with water or earth. Clients leave clutching the instructions, how to reach the inviolable. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. And Tina Parker.
Hi, good evening. What a delight to hear these voices. Thank you all. I'm reading from Berea, Kentucky, and I'll read two short poems from the issue 1 of Literary Accents. These poems are also part of the full-length collection called Lock Her Up. It's coming out soon from Accents Publishing. These poems explore women committed to asylum not that long ago, for reasons such as, to do the epigraph, women were particularly susceptible to insanity caused by pregnancy, childbirth, seduction, menstrual problems, too tight corsets, and reading works of fiction. The day they came for me. The day they came for me, I sliced open the sun. I walked the tightrope and touched the moon. I drank stars that day. I danced with a tree, climbed into thunder. The day they came for me, I cartwheeled into the sea and sang open the snow. The next poem is really tiny. It's called Patient Interview. Do you have visions? Hear voices? Did you drink in the darkness? See how bright it fills you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Really look forward to Lock Her Up, and if you're up for it, its own Accents book club reading and Q&A. Yeah, hopefully in February. So, okay, Linda Bryan.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I have two very out of control dogs who don't usually bark, but I'm not in my regular place and they're just kind of going nuts. So I'm going to try this. I'm sorry if there's a barking dog in the background. So I'm Linda Bryant. I live in Berea. I moved there in 2019 from Nashville. I had a long career as a reporter, but my secret love has always been poetry. And so about 15 years ago, I mean, I've always written poetry, but about 15 years ago, I started taking it really seriously. So I think I am joining everyone in their depressing family loss poems. This is a poem about my mom. College isn't all it's cracked up to be. Factory Town, Tennessee. She wanted us to look good, and we did, but she was losing the pink tinge in her cheeks. She tailored our plaid culottes, pleated skirts, spangled formals, and every year one-of-a-kind Easter frocks with intricate applications requiring hours of craft. Ruffles at the bodice, embroidery at cuff and collar, silk white charmeuse lined inside a box jacket. She quit polishing her toenails Hollywood red and donned dime store anklets instead of sexy Cuban heeled stockings. Handed her dazzle to her daughters. She finally scrapped sewing, cold turkey, and at 42 signed up for college. Her study lamp flickered at dawn as she annotated Dickens, Shakespeare, nothing ever less than all A's. She sipped Jack Daniels and Coke, and when she suspected we were down for the night, she'd booze it up more. She graduated, magna cum laude, but her flourishing geraniums died. Whiskey on the rocks and boxed burgundy ended her search for beauty and knowledge and the drive to create. She taught 7th grade English, made enough salary to leave daddy, buy a midnight blue coupe and a one-story brick suburban. But she was dead-ended and alone. She slipped into drunken indifference without frill or written insight, one wretched cocktail at a time.
Thank you, Linda. Dennis Preston.
Hello. Everybody hear me okay? Great. I'm Dennis Preston. I'm from Owensboro, and I have been a Cumberland Presbyterian minister for 43 years, and I'm also a retired teacher of language arts. The poem I'm going to read is from the first issue of Literary Accents. Solstice. Falling snow, sleet, and ice affixes itself onto limbs and lanes with grace and delicacy of an Arctic hare. Danger awaits on every turn, accumulation to devastation. Watchful eye can't see beyond. Timber wolf awaits her prey. Thank you very much, and thank you, Katerina.
Thank you, Dennis. Warren Wosner.
Hello, everybody, and I want to extend, having been a co-founder of a literary magazine that's about 50 years old now, Abraxas magazine, I want to congratulate Katerina on what she's accomplished. And I know how much work it took, believe me. You don't always, you make some great friends, but you don't always keep them around. And you make some people unhappy. But she made me happy by accepting a poem for issue 1. I'm going to just read it and 2 other very short poems. And they're from my most recent book, Exit Sky, from Holy Cow Press in Duluth. Cloud window. Blocks from here, towers scrape the sky. In this warehouse, workers who scrape to get by strain to see the sky. One window tipped open, catches clouds, keeps them outside. Canoes in January. Tipped over, summer and fall spilled out. Winter moved into aluminum longhouses for Lakota ghosts. Hulls still point at the lake, like compass needles point at true loss. Lookout. Millions of squirrel tracks in the snow under empty nut trees. Blue jays argue. 3 feet above your head, the spirits. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Warren. Kevin Nance.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Nance, and I live here in Lexington. I work as a freelance arts journalist and photographer. My poem is in the upcoming issue of the magazine, and it's dedicated to somebody I think some of you know, Kimberly Miller, who's a friend of mine, and who introduced me to the form of the contrapuntal a couple of years ago. And I had never written one until that time. There are 2 strands. You can say one on the right and one on the left. The one on the right is in italics in my case. And I read the poem by reading the strand on the left first, then the strand on the right, and then I go back one more time and blend the 2 strands together. Okay, so here we go. The poem is called The Ember, and it is I guess you would call it a sort of post breakup poem. The Ember. In the cooling hearth, an ember in the ashes found some new fuel and burst into flame till it lapsed like a lamp out of oil, and a coil of smoke rose up and danced, a snake being charmed. I caught you once looking at me from the corner of your eye for one long moment, as if to spy on me when I didn't know I was being watched, as if you were thinking of taking me back. In the cooling hearth, I caught you once, an ember in the ashes, looking at me, found some new fuel from the corner of your eye and burst into flame for one long moment, till it lapsed like a lamp, as if to spy on me, out of oil when I didn't know, and a coil of smoke. I was being watched, rose up and danced, as if you were thinking of a snake being charmed, taking me back. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Sue Churchill.
Okay. Thank you all for these fascinating, funny, fun, sad poems. I have a poem in the upcoming issue. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. But I'm going to read the one that was in the 3rd issue. I live about 25 miles west of Lexington, and I used to be a teacher. And I left teaching to farm and write poetry, and the farming has sure encroached on the poetry writing. But This is not a farming poem. When I was young, I loved Dylan Thomas. I thought he was fascinating and cool and sexy and all those things. And I particularly liked the poem, The Villanelle, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. And so recently I went to write a villanelle, and I looked back at that poem, and I found that my response to it was quite different. And I found a resistance in me rising up to that poem. And this, my own poem, came from it. And my own poem is not a villanelle. I have yet to write a remotely decent villanelle, but this is actually a pantoum, a Malaysian form, which is a form I turn out to like better. And it's appropriate that it's not the same form, actually, but it is a form poem. It's called A Response to Dylan Thomas. And it is to my mother, who is almost 92. Mother, go gently. Go gently as you may. Don't curse the coming of the dark. Never mind what poets say. Don't rage. Don't fight. Go like a falling star. Don't curse the coming of the dark. Though our sky lose your certain shine, don't rage. Don't fight. Go like a falling star. Its glory strewn to a fine line. Though sky must dull to lose your certain shine, the brightest eye dim like a lost thought, its glory strewn to a fine line. Not all dissent must be hard fought. Let bright eyes dim like a lost thought. Never mind what poets say. Not all dissent must be hard fought. Mother, go gently as you may. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. Jim Hanna.
Okay, I hope I can be heard. Thank you, Katerina. Can you all hear me? I'm in Lexington. I too am a teacher. I've retired from the local school system and have been at Georgetown College for the past few years, although I had to take a COVID sabbatical this fall. This poem actually comes from an assignment I used to give my students to write a poem apologizing for something. And one of the examples I used was the poem This Is Just to Say by William Carlos Williams, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Poem of Apology after This Is Just to Say by William Carlos Williams. People in love never watch where they're going, said I in crowded hallway to fellow travelers tripped up by boy and girl holding hands oblivious to others, or whose plums they eat. And so it is with me. If I could give back those plums to you, purple in a silver bowl and cold, if I could let you fall but gently and cushion your easy bruising, if a kiss could heal your anxious cheek of tears, if with kisses I could steal the bitter taste of fears, then I would be who I wish, what I wish for thee, but I would not be me. I'm sorry for getting in the way. I know I take more than I give. For people in love never watch where they're going or whose plums they eat. And so it is with me, my sweet. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Vincent Tomio. Yes, good.
Okay, now you can hear me. My name is Vincent Tomio, and I'm from New York City. I was a teacher for 39 years. I'm the author of a book called My Cemetery Friends, A Garden of Encounters at Mount St. Mary Cemetery in Queens, New York. And I'm a poet. I just have to preface this poem. This is about me, and it's true. December 1966, bitter cold. He was afraid to go to school. He had no money for a winter coat. He had to borrow Mama's quilt blanket. He entered the classroom. Students stared, said nothing. By the end of December, everyone wore a blanket. I still have that poem. I still have that blanket. And this is in volume 1, issue 1. And that's a true story. So, you want me to read another one? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, feel free to read another one from the short poems.
Okay. This is another, I'll preface this story also. This is also true. Brother dying. I remember the last time we spoke. He asked me to hold up a cup of juice with a straw. He said he was surprised I was sleeping on the floor. Volume 1, issue 3. Did I tell you I'm from New York City? Yes. Okay. And it's snowing. And happy holiday to everyone. Merry Christmas and happy Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate and however you celebrate.
Thank you so much, Vince.
Thank you.
Marianne Peel.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Katerina, for the gift of bringing us all together. I lived in Madisonville, Kentucky for about 3 years recently, and you have become my poetry family in Kentucky. So thank you, and it's good to see so many familiar faces. I taught school also with fellow teachers for 32 years, middle school and high school students. So I'm retired now and working on my own writing after nurturing students for so many years. I'll share a poem called Lessons from the Cellar and the Front Porch. And it has Roman numeral parts. So I'll just say 1, 2 as I get there. 1. I learned my fright of birds the summer of 1967. Mama sent me to the cellar to fetch a mason jar of chow chow, vegetable mash of pickled cucumbers, reeking of brine and caraway seed, sweet onions and yellow mustard seeds. Steep stairs, narrower than my adolescent feet, a dizzy errand, descending the underground dark until my fingers found the string hanging from the bare light bulb, yanking in want of light. And it was then they flew at me, a dozen chickens, still alive and fresh from the market, all screeching and flapping and feathers flying, a flailing of beaks and claws. Mama forgot to tell me she bartered for a dozen birds from old man Zimplinsky. Got a price she just couldn't pass up. Told me I could help wring their necks for her chicken noodle soup early Saturday morning. I saved the feathers I pulled out of my hair, ironed them flat between wax paper, slid the sheets in my cigar box treasures. 2. Mama wouldn't allow no pads in the house. Waste of good earnings, she said. And when the blood came every 27 days, I crafted my own sanitary napkins, sewed rags together with a delicate embroidery stitch, used whatever leftover colors I could find in Mama's sewing basket. You have the patience of Job concentrating on those minute stitches, she said. 3. Uncle Johnny played accordion after dinner, out on the front porch, bellows belching out polkas and sing-alongs from World War II. Mama tapped her toes. Midnight dew geranium nail polish smeared onto her bunions. She created an alto line, always a third below the melody. I would sit at Uncle Johnny's feet, cross-legged, watching his right-hand fingers dance up and down the vertical keyboard. Watch his left-hand fingers move button to button, churning out chords. The air from the bellows cooling my face. 4. Mama wouldn't allow no bras in the house. Waste of hard-earned money, she would say. So I'd bind my chest with rags, rags smelling of pine sol and lye, wound them round and round my chest, strapping my bosom in and down, persuading my chest to flatness. Mom always told me, you don't need no bra anyway. You flat as a pancake. 5. Late one night, Mama said she was all tuckered out, needed to lay down a spell. No front porch singing tonight. Just me and the moonlight and that song I couldn't stop singing in my head. Oh, it's only a paper moon sailing over a cardboard sea, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. There was swaying and singing, just me and the moonlight, and this arc of song erupting from my mouth, my movement free and wild, notes spinning from my lips, and my dancing just couldn't contain my bindings. There in the moonlight, my rags unraveling, I twirled around and around and around. That night, I sent notes sashaying up to the stardust, overtones that vibrated the very halo of the autumn moon. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. I would like to hear from Lita Kendrick.
I wasn't expecting that. I have the book here, and I also have the poem that is in my book from you, but I'll have to get it. Can you hang on? I'll come right back.
Yes. Yes. And while we are, while this is happening, if there is, I believe that she's the last person whom I haven't called on, and I haven't heard someone. I mean, there are 2 people who are not interested in reading, but if I have missed someone, please let me know.
Katerina.
Yes.
Katerina. Yeah. While we're waiting, I'd like to point out to everybody that today, December 16th, is the 250th anniversary of Beethoven's recognized birthday. So happy birthday to Ludwig van Beethoven, 250 today.
Yeah.
Also, could I say something?
Absolutely.
Today is the anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge, 75 years later. Hats off to those men who pushed back the Germans.
Mm-hmm. Lita, it's page 20. Lita, you may have to turn on again your mic.
Okay. I don't think I still have it, Katerina. I don't know.
Well, that's okay. I can read it for you. Would you like that?
Great.
Okay.
I was just
All right.
listening and not paying attention. There we go. Thank you.
That's fine. So this is from issue number 2, Morning Shift with K9 by Lita Kendrick. Sometimes the simple rattle of a locust in no particular tree will put the day back on its feet, undo the night's tilt into the grave. Some mornings, an unfocused August walk with the dog is all it takes. Our bodies prowl the southern air, sun spilled through haze, legs churning, sidewalk, rank sod, the regular spaces at which he balks next to the regular trunks, a chance to lift our feet. We do this for each other, shift our darknesses. I pick up his shit and he obligingly takes mine, flings it off his back paws. Each of us goes, lightened, following his joyful noise. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. And it's in this beautiful book that Katerina published this year and Luckier. So thank you. Thank you. And thanks for reading it when I couldn't come up with it quickly enough.
Hey, did I miss anybody? Does anybody? Okay, I appreciate you. Thank you for spending, your evening with us. Thank you for bringing your voice into our chorus of poetry. Thank you for supporting Literary Accents by sending your work. And I appreciate you.
Thank you, Katerina, so much.
Happy New Year, happy holidays.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Katerina.
Happy holidays.
Happy
We
holidays.
appreciate you too. Be safe, everyone.